What you see on your screen at this time is a reminder that this advisory webcast is intended for informational purposes only. Any features or functionality described for Oracle's products remains at the sole discretion of Oracle. Now, let's get started with our presentation. Volker, if you're ready, I'll turn the webcast over to you, and you can begin.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Volker Jülicher. I am from Siebel Technical Support. I joined Siebel in 1999 as a technical support engineer. At 2006, Siebel was incorporated into Oracle, and I stayed here in technical support, now Oracle Siebel Technical Support. And since 2011, I moved to proactive technical support, which provides more background work. What will we do today? I want first to present you the goals of this web session. After that, I will demonstrate what we are working with. I will show you the test environment, how it looks like, and the components we use. Then I will describe a little bit the product configurator web service, what we need to do to set it up from the Siebel side, and then how we can get it running, how can we use it, how can we test it. We need some kind of a front end, and the good choice is soapui, so I will tell you a little bit about soapui as well, and after that we can go into a simple test case. The goal is to provide you with an end-to-end sample, a complete sample, which is running together with the product definition and with a minimum of changes. And it's also reduced so that all the data structures, so that it is easy to get them running. Underlying product structures are small. What we want to do, I want to show how we can configure a quote item and save the changes. The scenario. We have a quote, an existing quote, and this quote also has a line item with a root product. Then we use the product configurator web service to configure it and save the changes. All the samples are running on Siebel 8.1. The test environment we have uses soapui as a front end. From here we send the requests and can look at the responses. The web services are run in the EAI object manager, which receives the requests sent from soapui and returns a response back. We are going to use the product configurator web service. This is an inbound web service. That means it accepts requests from the outside, and it has a set of operations, a begin configuration, operation, an update configuration, and an end configuration. These begin and update configuration can be modified to read, begin configuration can be modified to read existing quotes, or it can receive a quote from another source in form of an XML structure. Update configuration can add child items, can update child items, attributes, and can delete child items. End configuration can save the changes or discard them. Now, what do we need to do in preparations from the Siebel side? First, we have to make the web service available. available to be used. We need to check some settings, and we need to export the WSDL file, which contains the description of the web service in terms of a XML structure, and which will be used by soapui to create sample requests. We'll need it for the soapui project. On Siebel Side, you need to have a server installation, and you need to enable the EAA object manager. And here you need to take care or make a decision whether you want to use it with asset-based ordering enabled or not. Another thing you might take care is to turn on or turn off compression to make results easily visible in soapui. Okay, a short demonstration. Okay. Here, sorry, that was the wrong one. Here, this is e-communications object manager thin client, and I went to administration web services, inbound web service. So you first, to make the product configurator web service available, you need to locate it. You can search for it, and then you need to check whether it's active or not. Here it is active. If you do not want to use it to have it used, you can just set it inactive, or if you have a fresh installation, if you want to use it, set it active. This will take effect immediately. Another thing which you might check here are the service ports for product configurator web service. We have a begin configuration port, an end configuration port, an update configuration port. From these ports, we will use the operations. Begin configuration has one, end configuration has one, update configuration has one. The different features are then specified in the data structures. But, for example, the object broker port has different operations. Another thing for which you need to take care of is to get it running with these workflow processes, which are mentioned here. Workflow processes, that they are enabled or deployed under administration business processes. Then some checking here. We will use the transport HTTP, and as the binding we will take soapdoc literal. Here you need to have an eye on it. And here for the addresses, you can fix them here, and then you will have the correct addresses immediately in your WSDL file and correctly imported into the soapui project. Here I have set that one. This is the address of the machine. This is the object manager, EAI_ENU, which will run your web services. And since you need to keep the context, you have to specify WS soap equals to 1. This is needed because begin configuration starts the configurator session and loads data structures, and the next step needs to refer back to the same data structure, so you need to use the same session. And here you need some kind of session management. This is why you take a little bit different ways to specify the authentication. That's not needed for the object broker port. Okay. Yes. The next step is to install soapui. Soapui is freeware. I have running version 2 and version 4, but for these small examples, it doesn't matter which version we have. Soapui can be downloaded and installed. It's easy to install it, and it has not much impact. There are some initial settings where you need to take a little bit care of, especially if you install version 4. It allows to obey compression. It is the best to turn off compression from both sides, from the Siebel side and from the soapui side. And this can be done from the initial settings. Then you are going to create a project, give the project a name, and specify the WSDL file, which you can download from administration, WebServices, inbound services. There is a button and you can download the WSDL file. The next thing, what makes the first problems is the endpoint. We have seen that. Here we have an example for an endpoint with session management enabled. We have SOAP equals to 1. You specify the address of your machine, the EAI, a new object manager or whatever object manager you want to use, EAI, any language. And then you have to specify this string and another session management indicator. And after that, you create a test suite with test cases and can run the requests. How does this look like in soapui? Here, this is the command screen you see after you have started soapui, and here is the soapui interface. As you can see it after you have created some projects and run some tests. Normally, the left-hand side is empty, and it's just easy to create a project with new project. Here you specify the name, give the location for the WSDL file, and make some specifications whether you want to have sample requests created or not. I would recommend to let it create the sample request. For example, here we have one project, product configurator, date of 101. It's not so bad to use the documents. You see the pop-ups here, and you can see the project. You see the interface, a summary. You see a summary of several tests. From the WSDL file, you see some sample requests created, and also the requests also show all the optional tags. One drawback is that these tags here in the request carry question marks for optional values which you can supply or not, but these question marks are not accepted, so you might want to edit your request before actually using it. You can create a test case. Here we have some test cases for different scenarios, and just create a new test case, give it a meaningful name, and then you can add some test steps. For example, create a new request, give it a meaningful name, and then you can say that you want to create a begin configuration step. You can say you can give it a name, test request here. Begin configuration, and then you can request to add to create the optional input, and you will get a screen like this. Okay. You can have several test cases in the test suite, and you can run several steps automatically in a sequence. Okay. Now I want to present a sample test case. First, I want to have a look at begin configuration load. The begin configuration load, well, the service port is begin configuration. What we want to do within configuration, the load operation will be specified in the data. Load means that we want to load quote item from the database. So we need to specify the quote item, and there is not much to provide. It's the quote header ID, the root quote item ID, the operation we want to perform, the load, and how the result should look like. Now the request structure in detail. The basic structure, the envelope, the division, the envelope is the entire SOAP request, and then we have a division and a header part and a body. And in the body we have a begin configuration input. Here we specify all the parameters and how the result should look like. Now the header information. Remember that we want to use session or need to use session management. Therefore, we specify in the connect string WSOAP equals to 1. In the header, in this case, we cannot specify username, password, and so on. In the endpoint, we need to specify it in the header. And we have the tag password text, username submin, standard username, username token submin, standard password. And then we say which session type to use. The best in this case is to say server determine. It keeps the session as long as we need it. Only when we perform the end configuration, the session will be closed. And now the begin configuration load, the body. This is the part after the header. Here we have the begin configuration input, closed by the end tag begin configuration input. And here we have the basic data to specify what should happen where. We specify the init instance operation, load. We specify the quote header ID, and we specify the root ID of the root quote line item. The root quote line item is the quote line item which has the root product. There can be many child products as well. There can be several root products in one quote. And then followed by product data. The next step, I want to show you begin configuration load. So I go into my soapui project, into product configurator 811 test suite 1 test case load. with a test suite. The test suite is made up of several test cases, and each test case has a series of requests. Here we have a begin configuration load. This is the request, just the structure. This is the envelope. This is the header. And this is the body. The body is ended here. First, let's look at the header information. Username token, submin. So, session type is server determined. Here, this is endpoint. WS soap equals to 1. Then begin configuration. Input, init instant operation load, the header ID, and the root ID. And then followed by a list of data. As you see here, we have not supplied any data. This just describes the structure which will be returned, and no values are given here. Okay. Now we just run this begin configuration. Request. And it looks, okay. It's already done. You see when it's taking a little bit more time, then you see here a blue rectangle moving to and fro. And here you see the response. It has a header information which shows especially a session token. This is the information which identifies the session and the current user. And then we see the begin configuration output. No error message, followed by the list of data. And here we have product data and the item. We see that we have a suite pack, and this is our base product, and we have a relationship within the suite pack. This describes which child items we can have. This is not the actual product instance, what we have configured. This is just describes the structure as it comes from the product definition. This says what we can add. Okay. We have a relationship here within this product suite tab, which has the name content. And then we have in this relationship two domain items. The first one is a bonbon, and the second one is a mauam, two kinds of sweets which can be added. But we also have real items as a child. Currently, it is just one item. This is actually in the quote, and we have a child item, mauam. Okay, let's look at this quote from Siebel. This is the quote ID. The quote name is the same. This is the same name as the quote ID. It will show us exactly the quote, product suite pack, and one child product, mauam. That's exactly what we see. In the product definition, we would see a relationship with mauam and bonbon, but these are two different things. So, in the response, we see the structure, and we see the actual items. What is important to note, the integration ID, we refer to the integration ID if we want to do something with the product, for example, add further child items. Or if we want to modify another item, for example, the mauam, then we need to specify the integration ID, not the row ID. If we want to add a product, we will say to which product, for example, to the suite pack, do we want to add something? Okay, we say we want to add to this integration ID example, another bonbon, so we specify the ID in the next request and the quantity. Okay, we will see this later. Now we have seen some information returned and we have seen the request. But if we imagine you have a quote with the root product, 20 child products, and each of the 20 child products has 3 to 5 grandchild products, and then a lot of attributes and so on. So you can imagine that the data which is returned can be quite big. So what you can do is you can control the amount of information that is returned by begin configuration load from the instance, as well as for update configuration. You can control the details of line items, or you can control whether only the parents are displayed, or the parents and child products are displayed, or parent, child, and grandchild products are displayed. Not from the relationship, from the actual product. First, the details. In the structure, we have not only specified what we want to do and where we want which quote and quote item we want to load, but we have also a part which is product data. And this part is only present to specify what we want to get returned. No data are specified here. Just mention the name of the field you want to see, and you will get it returned. For example, quantity, product ID, name, or pricing related information, regarding prices, the price list, the integration ID, and stuff like that. For eligibility information, another sample. If you want to see the child items or grandchild items, you need to insert the item again in the product data list. So, if you have specified an item, you will get the root item back. If you have specified within the item, again, an item structure, then you will get back root item plus children. And if within this nested item, you make the same again and again, you will get not only children, but grandchildren, grandchildren, and so on, what you need. I have another product which has a little bit deeper structure and more elements. I have taken a second product to keep it simple, and it's a bike kit. The bike kit is not complete. It's just to show that we can also work with different levels. So first, let's look into the other quote. And this is my bike. This is not a complete bike, this is just a kit. You can buy a frame, a fork, and a front wheel, and nothing else, because you have the rest at home and can supply it yourself from there. So and it's also for simplicity. Here you have a bike kit. I've ordered a rear wheel, an 18-piece sprocket and a 12-piece sprocket, and 32 standard spokes. So we have parent, child, grandchild. And I just want to show you how that looks like from soapui. I added some details. This is another test case. Let's remove these ones. And yes, let's start with let's delete delete this one. Remove the response. Ah, I just deleted the request. Aha. Oh, quite a lot. Okay. File exit without saving. Sorry for that. And start soapui again. Okay. Test suite 1. Okay, the request is here again for the third level. And what do we see here? The header is the same as we had. The username password is there, the session type is there, and here we have the begin configuration input. We have a list of data, and here we specify what we see. Line item, not too much details, but important here, the relationship and the end relationship, we have to have it to see the child information properly. Then a nested item, again with relationship and end relationship to see the details properly. And now for the grandchild items. We run the request. And what we see is we get the product data, the item, which is the bike kit. Then the relationships according to the product definition. And another relationship. And now the first level child item. And here we see the rear wheel. Again, with a set of relationships and domain items, and we need to go down to find the following child items, and here we have them. We have 3 of them. We have the 18 teeth sprocket, the 12 teeth sprocket, and 32 standard spokes. Okay. What would you get in this case? This is a similar request with a slight difference. Just in the product data, in the list of data, the product data, I have only specified one level of items. Okay, if we run this one, what will we see? We will see the bike kit together with its relationship. And that's it. Here we see the end of the relationship, but no child item. But it's actually the same quote ID. Here, header ID, root ID. That's the same as in the previous request. Okay. Now we are going to make some changes and save them. In the following, we will work again with the suite pack, because the structure is simpler. We have not so much smaller relationship. We have seen the begin configuration load. After that, we will run an update configuration with add another child item, and then we are going to save the changes back to the database using an end configuration. We have a simple test case, and here what do we need to do in update configuration? In update configuration, we need to work with the same session again. For this reason, we need to use a session token to connect to the same session where the configurator has already loaded the information for the quote, the instance. Now we want to add a a child product, and this child product is defined in a relationship. So we have to provide the product ID, the relationship ID, and then to which parent, to the integration ID of the parent product. That's the integration ID of the immediate parent. That item which has the relationship to which you want to add a child product. In the end, after that change, we want to run an end configuration. Here again, we need to refer back to the same session, so the request needs to be sent back to the same session. So we need to provide a session token which says where it should go. And then we just need to say save instance flag equals to yes, and that's it. And this end configuration automatically closes the session. Okay, how does this look like in our environment? How can we run this? First, to remember the quote we are using. This is here to see what we have. It was, I think you remember that quote with line item, sweet pack, and one child item, Mauam. What we now want to do is we want to add another child item, bonbon. So we go back to the test case load. We clean up a little bit. And here we have our begin configuration load. We will run this one. And after that, we run the update configuration as, and after that, the end configuration. Okay. Let's run the begin configuration and look at the result. So we remember, we want to add to sweet pack something of the relationship. So we are going to add a bonbon. So we need to specify the product ID of the product to add. From where? Where is it defined? In which relationship is it sitting? The ID of the relationship. And to which parent product? To sweet pack. And here we need to specify the integration ID, not necessarily the row ID. Okay, then let's look into the update configuration. In the update configuration, we are going to supply these parameters. Update configuration input. The operation is add item. And we need to say the product ID, specify the product ID, specify the integration ID, and specify the relationship ID. Okay, and we need to pass a session token. Where does this session token come from? The session token comes from the response of the begin configuration request. So it will be generated new after each request. So I need to cut and paste it. Copy it from the begin configuration, load response, and paste it into the update configuration. So I need to put it into the latex. Okay, now I'm done. The rest is all specified and I can run this request. And the response is, I have the sweet pack together with its relationship, and now we should see two child items. Now we have also the attributes specified, so we see a little bit more. This is the bonbon, and we have added two. Did we specify two? Okay, we will look it up. And we have the other item that already existed. Where is the other item? It's here. Here we see the now on, which was previously here. Okay, what happens if we now look into the database? Is the change already done? Query, go, can we see it here? No, of course not, because it's not saved back to the database, it's just in the memory. So the next step we have to do is we have to save the configuration. So again, we need to pick up the session token. I copy it from the update configuration add. It's in another session token. I pick up the end configuration. There is nothing to specify. I just copy in the new session token. And okay. Of course, I have specified the save instance flag equals to yes, otherwise it will not save the changes. And now you see the resulting quote. I will see the complete quote. You see no structures here specified. In the end, you see the entire quote with the quote item, big data structure, not so easy to read, and to find the related data and the child together with its child items. Okay, how does it look like in the application? I run a query and execute the query, and what do I see? Okay, we see the two new bonbons added. This is a simple test case with a little number of steps, but you can imagine that it might be cumbersome to always manually transfer the data like session token or common IDs or things like that. Even endpoints, the address could be modified. So what we can do in this case, or what soapui offers to us, is a so-called property transfer. The property transfer allows us to copy information, for example, from the begin configuration response into the update configuration request. We just define an additional step in between, property transfer, which copies, for example, the session token from the request to the next response. We can also use other properties like quote ID, quote item IDs. A little bit more difficult is it to parse for integration IDs. Here, for test cases, it might be simpler to provide, to make these changes manually. But using properties is very powerful and can make the work quite easier. You can run load tests, you can repeat your tests, and things like that. You can run several steps in one go, or instead of cut and paste, you just hit property transfer. Okay. Also here, a short sample. I have another sample. It's another project, but it's operating on the same quote, using the same structures. Clean up the workspace. Okay. Here we have as well a test suite and several test steps. But as you can see, we have begin configuration and in between a property transfer. Okay, let's open the definition of the property transfer. And here you see we can move the token. We can move the token from the response of the begin configuration load to the request of the begin update configuration add. And we need to specify where we find the session token. We want to move the session token. The copy the session token, and we need to specify where it is. So we need to walk down the hierarchy. It starts with the envelope. Within the envelope we have the header, and here we have the session token. Okay, we need to define where the envelope is specified, so we need to specify the namespace SOAP envelope is, and then where we can find the namespace, and here proceed with the name for the namespace. Okay, we can also define another transfer for the integration object of the parent. Here I have picked it up from properties, which is some kind of a variable, and also done for relationship ID and product ID. This can ease work a little bit. Properties are defined here. If you want to change the values, if you want to instead add of 27, 13, we just have it triggered and can change the value. But I don't think that we are using the quantity here, it is fixed. Okay, if you run it, you just start off with the begin configuration load. It's the same code, and you see the result here with the child item, Mauam, and one bonbon. The next step, we run the property transfer. We will copy over all transfers, so we do not take this button, but the next button, run multiple transfers, check for correctness, check that these fields are fitting, the check boxes, options are used correctly. And now we run the update configuration, and as you see, we do not need to copy over the session token or any other information anymore. Now we have the update, and we see now 3 child items. A bonbon, another bonbon, and somewhere we should find the Mauam. And we need to check, oh, that's a relationship. The bonbon. Another bonbon. Oh, here we are missing something. This is the same quote we are working with. So we begin configuration load. That's the correct information. Okay, then it should have been added. Then we make another property transfer from, basically from the session token, from the update configuration add to the end configuration. We run it again, run our end configuration, and check the response for success. Okay, we will now go back to our Siebel application and check and want to find out whether this new child item has been added, and you see another bonbon has been added 2 times. Okay, this shows the property transfers. Okay, it was a property transfer. The sample will be published in the document Product Configurator WebServices, an end-to-end example. I will then upload until tomorrow the project files we have used today together with the product definitions. Another document is Product Configurator WebServices, issues, solutions, and examples. And we have a reference in the bookshelf in Siebel CRM WebServices. Okay, now questions and answers.
Thank you, Volker. We hope everyone found the presentation valuable today. We'll open our Q&A in just a moment, so please use the chat feature or the phone lines at this time to let us know you have a question. Dawn, could I ask you to give instructions once again for those on the phone lines?
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster.
And while we're pausing, I want to remind everyone that we have updated our archive page on My Oracle Support. It now contains not only the download and streaming link, but a PDF of the presentation you're watching today. And I will post that in approximately 48 hours, so you should be able to see it by Wednesday without any problem, maybe even before, but definitely by Wednesday. Again, if you go out to My Oracle Support Training Central, and then select Recorded Training, you'll go down to Siebel and you'll see the download and streaming link and the PDF. If you're more comfortable with using doc numbers, you can go to My Oracle Support and search for doc number 740964.1. Again, that's 740964.1. So go ahead and type in your questions if you have one, and follow the process that Dawn mentioned, and we will answer those questions here in just a moment. If you would think of a question after we end today, just go ahead and respond to me, Pamela Greenwell at Oracle.com, and I'll forward the question on to Volker to answer on a one-off basis. Well, Volker, it looks like you did a great job because I'm not seeing any questions on the chat feature. Dawn, do you have any questions from your audience?
No, ma'am, there are no audio questions.
Okay. Volker, I do have a question now. May I know the real-time scenario where Siebel expects the update product request from any external application using web server? Because as per my past experience, the customer service rep will update the product in Siebel apps itself.
Yes, you can use it in Siebel applications, but if you want to have, if you want to use product configurator from another application, then one way to communicate, or the only way to communicate with Siebel, is to use WebServices and inbound web services. For example, the e-sales application has an architecture where the self-service application makes heavy use of these web services. And here you can use any client, and you are not you do not have to have the Siebel client running. So you have an additional tier in between.
Okay, that sounds good. If there are any other questions, let's type them in the chat feature or queue up. Okay, he said, okay, I got it, thanks. So you answered it very well. Okay, so I don't see additional questions on the chat feature. Dawn, any questions from your audience?
No, ma'am, there are no audio questions.
Okay, so with that, I want to thank Volker and thank everyone for joining today's Oracle Advisor webcast. We hope you found this webcast valuable, and we look forward to you joining us again. Please enjoy the remainder of your day. Thank you very much.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.